I'd like to share a few ideas about the university, not just the University of Virginia, which I'm passionate about, by the way, but the university broadly as an institution. You might ask why we should change the university. I would begin by saying that we live in very different times, times of unprecedentedly rapid change, unprecedented complexity, and we are entering into a time facing truly daunting challenges. Challenges that many see as global existential crises, likely in the next 1, 2, maybe 3 generations. Almost certainly within this century, which some have referred to as the up or out century for the human race. The university could play a unique and powerful role in helping society transition to meet these challenges. But I will argue that it's currently poorly suited to do so. And what's more, if you look at the history of the institution, you find it not exactly inspiring that it has the capacity to recognize and adapt in a timely way to the needs of society. The university that I am envisioning, the new path for the university, is one that embraces the ideas of constant change and innovation, that comprehensively integrates what we've learned from cognitive science, how we think, how we create, how we learn. It has the capacity to translate fundamental discovery more effectively into tangible benefits for society. And it transitions from being a mere reflection of the needs of society to being more strategic, thinking about anticipating the needs of society. We live in a time that many are referring to as the Anthropocene, an era significantly, dramatically marked by human presence and human activity. We have become, in the words of the Enlightenment philosopher René Descartes, masters and possessors of nature. He said that we would do this through our ability to human reason, critical thinking, and the application of our knowledge of science. Indeed, we have done that. Look at what we have done. Imagine what we are capable of doing if we don't learn to manage this better. We have skyrocketed agricultural productivity. In doing so, we have increased human population by a factor of 10 in little more than 200 years. We have created global interconnected networks for the production, distribution, manufacture, and consumption of goods. We've expended and continue to expend enormous amounts of energy by the combustion of fossil fuels. In so doing, we have triggered global climate change. We have, in the words of Star Trek, entered where no man has gone before, literally in the history of mankind. We have dumped more carbon, more than 400 parts per million, into the atmosphere. We have crossed that threshold of no return. Although I wouldn't characterize it necessarily as an existential crisis, something that is dramatically shaping our lives has been the information technology revolution. More recently, trends like big data, the digitization of virtually everything, monitoring, censoring, and control of everything in the human-built world. It's not only shaping our lives, it's redefining our role as Homo sapiens. In the words of Daniel Pink from his book, A Whole New Mind, our society is experiencing a shift from the need for the left brain analytical thinker to the empathic right brain thinker, the storyteller, the creator, the inventor, the teacher. Even, this is something that I find very interesting, even our relationship to change itself has changed dramatically. Most of the last 2,000 years of history were characterized by change as anathema. We held sacred the idea of absolute truth, an unchanging universe, and inherited knowledge. Now, if you look at the most successful individuals, organizations, communities, these are the ones that most aggressively and proactively embrace constant change and innovation. So where does this leave the university? What is the university's role in all this? Well, first we can look at the current mission, sort of generically stated. to advance knowledge through research, to produce graduates who are capable of being successful or making successful contributions to society, and providing those graduates with the knowledge and skills they need to reach their full human potential. There's nothing wrong with these goals. I'm not saying that there is. What I'm arguing is that I'm asking the question, is this enough? In the face of what may truly be existential crises, can we afford to be complacent? Is there a new path for the university? I would argue, yes, and we need to find it. Before I talk about some concrete steps that I think are the start of a conversation about how the university can re-envision itself and its role, I'd like to look back a little bit at the history of the university in Europe, because I think it has some interesting things to tell us about the character of the institution. The university began with guilds, what were known as universitas. These were organizations formed to protect the interests of people working in a given craft, a trade, or a profession. In a very logical progression, they moved from protecting rights to establishing the qualifications that one would need to exercise that profession. From the qualifications, they went to the certification, sort of the equivalent of modern degrees. And then after that, they moved to the training, providing the courses that one would need to attain those qualifications. And from that emerged the early universities in the 12th century. These universities were originally formed around the faculties of law and theology and medicine. They were utilitarian. They were training academies. They produced graduates that filled the burgeoning number of civil and ecclesiastical administrative positions. Here's an interesting point. If you look at the university in that era, what was missing was the idea of the advancement of knowledge. Can you imagine a university devoid of the concept, the role, the mission of advancement of knowledge by any means? And yet, for the first 500 years of its history, that was not included in the university. The next sort of major shift that I want to draw your attention to is the emergence of the liberal arts. The liberal arts began as courses that were called extraordinary courses. In other words, courses that weren't needed to get your degree in theology, law, or medicine. They were taught within the residential wards, the dormitories of the universities. And they were taught in the beginning by the masters, of the headmasters, the ward master of those so-called colleges. These courses were meant to build collegiality, enrich life. The next 200 years of the history of the university was a struggle between the utilitarian established faculties and the emergence of liberal arts through humanism. Eventually, it became accepted as another faculty within the university. Then was the age of the Enlightenment, the idea of the application of critical inquiry to problem solving, and eventually the application to science and technology. What you can really see is the embryo of the Anthropocene. What happened before the university got the idea that something was really happening in the Enlightenment was the emergence of the professional societies, the Royal Society of London or the Academy of Sciences in Paris. If you had a new idea, if you had an innovative idea and you wanted to share that idea with the world, the last place you would go was a university. You would go to one of the professional societies. That's why they had emerged. And they began publishing the proceedings of their meetings. And this was the beginning of the archival journals that are so respected and prestigious today. So we begin to see, so a point that I want to make before I move on, the first true research university in the world took 150 years after the ideas of the Enlightenment were in full swing to be created. That was 1808, the University of Berlin. A number of other younger universities, Halle, Göttingen, became research universities shortly thereafter. And then some of the older, more established, like the University of Edinburgh, soon followed suit. That's where we are today. The pinnacle of higher education is the research university. My point is that we cannot afford to wait 100 years or 150 years for the university now to recognize that the needs of society will not allow us to do that. There are interesting reasons why the university is so slow to change. I'm not going to go into that. Rather, I would rather spend the time that I have with you focusing on some of the things that we could think about, maybe as steps toward re-envisioning the university. So from the history of the university, we see that it's a kind of a distant mirror that eventually reflects the needs and aspirations of society. The university moved through two major eras. The first was learn and perform, training academies. The second one was search, research, and discover, the age of discovery. That's where we still are. It's time to move beyond the age of discovery. Embrace innovation as a core role for the university. So I am arguing that the first step is to become a design university. It doesn't mean abandoning research. It means embracing the idea that change and innovation should be an integral part of anything that you want to accomplish. We need to see design thinking as a core competency for the Anthropocene. And it's not something that should be in a school of architecture, a school of engineering, or part of an MBA program. We should see it as universal, world-changing, and powerful, and it's too useful to be left in the hands of those who are driven only by motives of profit and security. We need to take charge of this tool. The second point, the second of the four steps that I'll mention, really gets back to the point of the university seeing itself differently, not as a reflection of society, but as a role model for society, as a strategic element anticipating the needs of society. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who really summed this up well, be the change you want to see in the world. Imagine the implications for the university if that were the principle that guided our priorities. Be the change you want to see in the world. The university is not the change we want to see in the world right now. Imagine if it were. One of the things that I'm sure that would happen is that we would embrace the idea of engaged scholarship. What is that? It's defined as the application of academic expertise, and this is the important thing, in reciprocal partnership with community. So it's not the ivory tower. Reciprocal partnership with community, which is interdisciplinary and which integrates research, design, teaching, and service. I'll leave this point with a question, and this is something from my own experience looking at our own university. Why is it that students seem to be the only ones who are really engaging and demanding service learning opportunities? Are they the only ones that recognize this as among the most valuable and impactful opportunities in higher education today? My third point addresses a missing link, a link between fundamental discovery and action, between knowledge and action. The United States has a wonderful culture of research. An anecdote here, I've traveled to Germany many times. As each time I would go to Germany, one of the things that would amaze me is how many solar arrays, solar cells, on rooftops, filling fields, even farmers covered their outbuildings and barns with photovoltaic cells. And I began to ask myself, if the Germans are making so much use of this and they've created so many jobs in this field, not just the technology, not just the production itself, but the installation, the maintenance, and the whole system, are they the ones that invented this? Did they create this? So I started doing some research. Much to my amazement, I discovered that all of these fundamental discoveries were made in the United States. And they ended up in some of the most prestigious archival journal publications in the world. They've been cited many, many thousands of times. Did we make use of it? No. That's the missing piece. We're good at creating, but we're not good at translating. If you look at Germany, I'll go back to Germany for an example here. Germany has what are known as the Fraunhofer Institutes. These are 66 application-oriented research facilities that are joined at the hip, if you will, with the universities, which are non-profit. They're non-profit. So they don't just pick up the things that offer short-term return on investment. They pick up things that are valuable for society, also industry. The last point that I'll make is what I think of as a fault line between arts and humanities and science and technology. This fault line, if you trace it back, began to emerge with the liberal arts themselves, with the emergence of the liberal arts. I would say that if we want to claim that our graduates understand how the world works, but they don't understand how electricity is generated, or they don't understand how an electric vehicle might work, we're doing our students a disservice. In engineering, which is the corner of the university that I come from, we understand that it's dangerous to graduate engineers who don't know about society and culture, the very context that they'll be working in. And so we have a set of courses known as Science, Technology, and Society that are designed to do that, to train engineers to understand how to integrate in a sustainable way technology into society and to understand that interaction. We need another set of courses that I would think of as Science, Technology, and Practice. And these would be courses that would be open to everybody in the university. And they would be there to ensure that there is a revolving door, a two-way street across this fault line that separates arts and humanities from science. There's no need for this. And we can break down this, maybe in the words of President Ronald Reagan, tear down that wall. That's what I would advocate. So let me leave you with this final point. We have harnessed human creativity to change the world. But I ask you, is anyone at the reins? The university, the design university, could be the change we'd like to see in the world. And who knows, that could make all the difference. Thank you very much.